What's up, PokeMoshPit PokeAim here, and I know it's been a while since I've uploaded, but I decided I would submit this Gen 1 UU match that I had versus some guy named Zeus. I don't really remember who it was versus. This was a battle that took place a long time ago, and it's been saved on my computer ever since. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. He's going to lead off with a Golbat. I'm leading off with my Eradicate. I want to get off as much damage as possible, so I'm just going to go for the Super Fang just to do exactly half as he goes for the Screech, trying to lower my defenses. That way his next hit will do a greater chunk than what it normally would. Now I'm going to go for the Body Slam because it's the best move I can go for. Didn't want to go for the Hyper Beam just in case it didn't kill, but looking at this Body Slam damage, it might have killed, and he's actually going to go for the Double Edge. And that's not going to do anything to my Eradicate. He gets a crit, but again, that's a solid 2 KO with the crit, but it still didn't do that much. Now, his Golbat is at a low amount of HP. Just going to go for the Bubble Beam to finish it off. If he tried to switch into a Rock type or a Ground type just to take and the resisted Body Slam, I could easily just catch him off guard and hurt him. So, now he goes down to his Magneton. I'm just going to go for the Super Fang just to get off half damage before I pretty much go down to whatever hit he wants to go for, which is the Thunderbolt. I'm going to get off a good chunk with that Super Fang. Of course, it does do exactly half, so I don't even know why I'm saying that. And he is going to be able to knock me out with that Thunderbolt. So now, I mistakenly click my Mr. Mime right here. I meant to click my Dugtrio since it does wall Magneton, so no biggie. I'm able to switch into my Dugtrio, quote-unquote double switch, predicting the Thunder Wave. Not really, since like I said, I meant to go into my Dugtrio. And now I'm going to go for the Substitute because I know he's going to try and switch out into a bulky Pokemon that can better take on Dugtrio or even resist the Earthquake. Ends up going out to a Sand Slash. Good move on his part because Sand Slash does take on Dugtrio pretty well. I'm going to go for the Sand Attack, which is pretty funny because that was legal back then, just to try and lower his accuracy because I don't really want him hitting me. He's going to go for the Sword Dance right here, knowing that he can take any hit I want to go for and pretty much try and hit back or retaliate with double the strength that he would have had before. So now I'm going to go for the Slash because I know it always gets a crit since the crits this back then were based on the speed tiers, and since Dugtrio is pretty fast, it's always going to get crit. So he goes for the Body Slam to break my sub. Now I know he's probably going to go for the strongest move, which is the Earthquake, so I'm going to take this opportunity to get the free switch into my Charizard as he does do that Earthquake. And now I'm going to go for the Fire Blast, not really wanting to over predict. If he tries to switch it to a Rock type or something, a Water type that does resist it, there's a good chance I can get the burn. So he actually ends up switching out into his Gyarados. Unfortunately, I missed the Fire Blast, which is some damage that I don't get, and I'm going to go out into Chimpact my Clefable just to take whatever move he wants to go for. He tries to predict me going into a Grass type, so he goes for the Blizzard. Still going to do a pretty good chunk to my Clefable, and now I'm going to be predicting him to switch into his Magneton to take the obvious Thunderbolt or anything along those lines. So I'm going to double switch into my Charizard, as after a while thinking, he actually does end up doing just that. He does end up going into his Magneton versus my Clefable, and since my Charizard's out right here, I'm free to go for the Earthquake. I thought at that range of HP it would be able to knock him out. Unfortunately, because there's no Steel type back then, it's going to leave this Magneton with a smidgen, and he's going to go for the Thunderbolt. I know my Charizard could take this because all Pokemon back then were fully EV'd in all stats, so Charizard could take this Thunderbolt, not well, but well enough. But unfortunately for me, he does get a crit, which is going to cost me my Charizard. Now, Hax is going to even out a little bit later on, so it's fine. So now I'm free to go into my Dugtrio. Just gonna go for the Slash. If he tries to switch out into his Gyarados, it would get a good chunk off on it, and it'll also KO this Magneton at that range of HP. So I'm gonna be able to knock out that Magneton. He's gonna go out into his Gyarados right here. I don't want to take a Surf or anything to the face, so I'm actually going to go on to Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime does have good special, because special is one stat, so it can take whatever special move Gyarados wants to go for. He ends up going for the Surf, not going to do that much to my Mr. Mime, and now I know he's going to switch into something that can take the obvious Thunderbolt, so I'm going to go for the Psychic, kind of predicting him to go back out into his Sand Slash, because I knew if I did go for the Thunderbolt, he did go into his Sand Slash, he would resist that, and if I went for the Psychic next turn, he could take that, then kill me off with an Earthquake. So I went for the Psychic, predicting him to switch into his Sand Slash, as he does do just that, and it is a solid 2 KO on this Sand Slash. I did get a Spadef drop, or a special drop, I don't really know how you would call it back here, but it didn't matter at all because I would have 2 KO'd the Sand Slash anyway, and I am able to knock him out with the next Psychic. So now he's going to go out into his Magmar. Magmar is a really fast Pokemon and a pretty big threat to my team, so I want to go for the Thunder Wave, knowing I can take any hit he wants to go for, since like I said, Mr. Mime does have great special, so he can take whatever special hit he wants to go for. Ends up going for the Fire Blast. I'm going to be able to live that with a small amount of HP, and I'm going to be able to get off a Thunder Wave, which is perfect because now this thing has a chance to get fully paralyzed, and now it's slower than the majority of my team. So now I'm going to go for the Psychic right here, just trying to get off some damage before I die. That way I can just go into my Dugtrio Revenge Kill. I get a crit, and he gets fully paralyzed, which kind of makes up for the crit that he got on my Magneton before. Just because, on my Charizard with his Magneton before, just because my Charizard should still be alive and I can fire off Earthquakes or whatever versus the majority of his Pokemon. But in any case, I'm able to knock out his Magmar with the next Psychic, and now he's going to go out into his Kabutops, revealing his last Pokemon, which is his Kabutops, of course, besides his Gyarados. I'm just going to go for the Thunderbolt just to get off some damage. I'm not really expecting to KO just because, like I said, all the Pokemon back then do have max stats and everything. So I'm just going to get off a hefty chunk with this Thunderbolt, as he is going to be able to knock me out with the Surf. But this is fine because I know I can go into my Dugtrio, outspeed this Kabutops, and revenge kill it with the Earthquake. So that's exactly what I'm going to proceed to do, or try to do right here. Going to go on to my Dugtrio as... of course, his Kabutops is in. Sorry, I'm just trying to stall some time. And gonna go for that Earthquake, as he, of course, predicts the obvious Earthquake. So he's gonna go out into his Gyarados just to dodge that and potentially scare me off, because Dugtrio really can't do anything versus Gyarados. He took a little bit of time right here waiting, but yeah, eventually he is gonna go out into his Gyarados right here, and of course he's going to dodge the Earthquake because he's type flying. So I'm just going to go for the Slash just to get off as good amount of damage as possible. I know it's going to get a crit because it always gets a crit, but I kind of hoped it would do more to this Gyarados than it did, because it did nothing to this Gyarados with the crit. And he's able to, of course, knock out my Dugtrio with the Surf, since Dugtrio, even though it does have max stats and everything, has piss poor defensive. Always did, always will have. So it's going to die to that Surf. Now I'm going to go on to my Muck. I know I can take any hit he wants to go for. The strongest hits he could go for versus me is either Hyper Beam or the Surf, both of which Muck can take, because Muck is an extremely bulky Pokemon. So I know I can take a Surf from this Gyarados. He's going to proceed to go for the Surf. It's a 3 KO on my Muck, but that general knowledge doesn't matter at all, because I just go for the Explosion right here, which will be able to knock out this Gyarados, and at the same time my Muck is going to die. So that's... I feel sorry for Muck right there, just exploded. But in any case, I'm going to go out into Chimpact, Clefable, my last Pokemon, and he's going to be down to his last Pokemon, which is his Kabutops. Now, Clefable, Chimpact plays no game, so he's going to be able to take Kabutops' strongest move, which is the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam does have a good chance to crit. I think it was a 15 or 30% chance. Not entirely sure. Anyway, he's not going to get a crit. I think even if he got a crit, I would have... No, I definitely wouldn't have lived that if he got a crit, but I'm able to take that Hyper Beam. Going to be able to knock him out with Thunderbolt, and that's a solid 1-0 for me. So yeah, good game, dude, whoever you were. Comment, like, subscribe, guys, and until next time, later, PMP.